So let's start. So Mr. Ian George Needham, thank you very much for sharing this time with us and taking us on a little journey. But before we start, obviously we all know that it's been a particularly tough past year for you. I just wonder if you could quickly update us on your physical condition at the moment. How's your recovery going, Ian?
It's going really well. I'm up and down the stairs now, back on the bike, back driving, doing about 3,000 steps a day. But there's certain aspects of my mobility that I still have to use sticks, but there's certain bits of it that might make me eligible for a blue badge. And
every cloud has a silver lining.
Every cloud has a silver lining, yeah. So I did actually look at a camper van the other day, and that had previously been known by a blue badge owner. So there we are. That's I'm really so much better. I'm back in my own bed. It's just everything's loads better.
Okay, great stuff. Well, so Ian, you were born on October 26th, 1953 in Chesterfield, which is up near the Arctic Circle. Can you tell us something about your early life and the household and the circumstances that you were born into, please?
Well, I was born in Scarsdale Hospital in Chesterfield, which, strangely enough, is opposite George Stephenson's grave, which, that's the railway connection. And I had an older sister, Christine, and my dad worked at the local shed, Hasland Sheds, on Garrett's. Garrett's are massive, great big steam engines. They're like two steam engines stuck together. He worked there, and we lived in a brand new semi-detached house in Chesterfield. And then my dad moved to London, and he couldn't take us with us. So because housing still the same problem as it was. And so we went to live with my grandmother for a year or so until my dad managed to get housing. And then that's why I talk like I talk, because I can talk like that as well, because I was born in Derbyshire but brought up down south. And then we moved down. We literally moved down to 2 up, 2 down, toilet down the end of the garden in North London, Watford. So it was kind of a bit of a backward step at the time.
Should we play your first record?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you want to tell us what it is?
It's the Runaway Train, because, like I said, I stayed with my grandmother an awful lot, subsequent summer holidays, and she had a wind-up gramophone. So it's literally, she only had about 3 records, and the other one was Beethoven's Fifth or something. And it was a mini record, actually, 78, and it was my most favourite of her 3 records. So it's literally the first record I put on a record deck.
Twas in the year of '89 on that old Chicago line when the winter wind was blowing shrill. The rails were froze, the wheels were cold, and then the air brakes wouldn't hold, and number 9 came roaring down the hill. Oh, the runaway train came down the track and she blew. The runaway train came down the track and she blew. The runaway train come down the track, the whistle wide and the throttle back, and she blew. Oh, the engineer said the train was halt and she blew. The engineer said the train must halt and she blew. The engineer said the train must halt. He said it was all the fireman's fault, and she blew, 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 blew. Oh, the fireman said he rang the bell and she blew. The fireman said he rang the bell and she blew. The fireman said he rang the bell. The engineer said you did like, and she blew. Oh, the porter got an awful fright and she blew. The porter got an awful fright and she blew. The porter got an awful fright. He got so scared that he turned white and she blew. Oh, a drummer sat in the parlor car and she blew. A drummer sat in the parlor car and she blew. A drummer sat in the parlor car and he nearly swallowed a fat cigar and she blew, 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 blew. Oh, the runaway train went over the hill and she blew. The runaway train went over the hill and she blew. The runaway train went over the hill and the last we heard she was going still and she blew, 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 blew.
Yeah, I've cut that one a bit short, Ian, because we are a bit behind.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But at least that's over, eh?
Well, at least that's over. That's the railway connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably not the only one we're going to get. So that was the early part. How about your early schooling?
Early schooling?
Yeah.
Well, I started school Canaland Infants, with mixed, and then Canaland Juniors was single sex. Don't know why they did that, seemed mad to me, but that was my early schooling, and that was in Watford. But my sister had been to school, she was older, she'd been to Field. And the infants was fine, but the boys' school, no. It was both violent in the classroom and in the playground. There was no getting away from it. So when I finally got to go to mixed secondary school and sit next to girls, I was absolutely delighted. And the first girl I sat next to was called Beverly Parkinson. And she became a model. Yeah. Okay.
But
and the headphone.
And would you like to tell us the story about your second song, please?
Because of my grandmother connection, it was a very matriarchal place, Chesterfield, because of the First World War, and there were lots of great aunts and grandmas and stuff. And so I spent a lot of time with my grandma Harrison, my mum's mum. Because my granddad died just before I was born, I kind of accompanied her to lots of things. And she was a Liverpudlian, had a fantastic Liverpudlian accent. And I went to a wedding with her when I was 11. And I can't be certain, but I think it was certainly one of the first times I'd heard the Beatles, because at the wedding reception, they were playing Beatles records in the background, and it was everyone talks about the atmosphere in Liverpool at that time, and I've discussed it with my my Liverpudlian sister-in-law in the Wirral, that there was something untangible. You couldn't really put your finger on it. It was an atmosphere that was just there. The you know, the start of the Beatles, and of course it was much wider than the Beatles. There was the Merseys, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Swinging Blue Jeans, the Mersey Beats. But there was something. There was something.
Shall we have a look?
And I was, yeah, we'll have a look. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Let's see what all the fuss is about.
Can't buy me love, love, can't buy me love. I'll buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel alright. I'll get you anything, my friend, if it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I don't care too much for money, money can't buy me love. I'll give you all I got to give if you say you love me too. I may not have a lot to give, what I got I'll give to you. But I don't care too much for money, money can buy me love, buy me love. Everybody tell me so, can buy me love. No, 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 say you don't need no diamond ring, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of thing the money just can't buy. 'Cause I don't care too much for money, money can buy me love. Wow! Can buy me love. Everybody tell me so. Can buy me love. No, 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 no. Say you don't need no diamond ring, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of things the money just can't buy. 'Cause I don't care too much for money, money can buy me love, can buy me love. Love can buy me love.
So we've got,
Yeah.
you've chosen your next two songs actually come from the same year, your 17th year, 1969. What was, what would you like to tell us about your experience of the 60s leading up to that time, and why you picked the first of those two songs?
Well, one of the things that I really sprung to mind was growing your hair long, because at school I was known as a hairy, because they were like skinheads or hair, not much in between, and how difficult it was actually to have long hair, because I was like a rail apprentice at the time, because I took a gap between O levels and A levels, and I was constantly reminded that I needed to get my hair cut, and so it was quite difficult. And that's one of my lasting memories of the 60s, apart from it being just really enormously exciting musically, and to be a teenager at that time was just an amazing gift, really, of birth. You know, it was just phenomenal. Whichever way you looked, things were changing. You know, obviously, because I lived in proximity to London, that probably enhanced the excitement. And I was talking to my school friend, who I'm still in contact with, Paul, who's literally got a photographic memory of that time when we went to loads of concerts, and I was because I helped my friend who was a social secretary put on gigs at Watford Town Hall as well. And so there was literally, just in Watford, there was probably a choice of 5 gigs to go to, all of which there'd be bands you knew, like Genesis, Atomic Rooster, Slade, Quintessence. It was just phenomenal. And of course, we were out all the time at gigs. And you know, you didn't need tickets. You just turned up, paid, as long as you had crushed velvet trousers on, you were in. So absolutely
for your
phenomenal.
first song, you've picked a song from the Woodstock film. Do you like to tell us why this particular track?
Well, it was an iconic happening, and of course, it was on in the cinemas. And I probably went 3 or 4 times to watch it. But of all the performances that you could choose from Woodstock, which is just a phenomenal resource in itself, this is the one that just blew me away. 10 years after I'm going home, you know, I could have picked Richie Havens, Joan Baez, Santana, but this absolutely blew me away. 10 after fan. And I've still got most of their albums, actually. I've got one in mono. Yeah, just blew me away.
This is a thing called I'm Going Home by Helicopter.
My baby, oh baby, want to see my wife. Oh, tell me, baby, where it gets rolling down. Tell me, baby, where it gets rolling down. Ooh, they're gonna have more fun. Yeah. Oh, baby, I love that way you walk. Yeah. Oh, do the stomp. Do the stomp. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. Oh, baby, baby, baby. Look out, babe, I'm coming to get you one more time. I go home. I go home. Yeah, home. Home, 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 my baby.
10 years after. Please, a warm thank you for 10 years after.
Yeah, I always worried about those guys because I just wasn't sure if they'd had enough cocaine.
Well, yeah, it was a festy.
I'm running out of time. So Ian, we're in 1969.
Yeah.
You're 16 years old.
Yeah.
What did you do next?
Well, I drifted in and out of further education and working on the railway. You know, I went to Hemel Hempstead College of Fashion, which had a massive music block, which had loads of pianos in practice rooms, and that's where I didn't do too well in my O levels, but I learned to play the blues, and that was the first band I joined there. It was with other long-haired and stripy blazers was the name of the game, and the drummer in the band called Mick North. He's a milkman, so he was out most of the day, so we used to go around there and practice. And that band was called Armageddon. I know there's another band that became Armageddon, but that was the name of the band at the time. And so it was, you know, my O-level quest was really just music all the time. It was the first time I saw David Bowie live. And there was a fantastic youth wing there, that was like a sort of youth centre that just allowed you to play really loud music at lunchtime. So that was fantastic as well. Because it was out of my hometown, it just felt a little bit safer.
I'm sorry, was that live music or recorded music that you could play?
No, recorded music, you know, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. I mean, there was other stuff as well, Motown and that, but, you know, they're the things that because rock at that moment in time really gripped me. I was just gripped by it, you know, particularly just all the iconic artists of the time. And my girlfriend at the time, Mary, asked me to go to a David Bowie concert at the local civic hall. And I said, wow, I'd sooner go and see Deep Purple or someone. But I agreed in the end, and I'm so glad I did, because that was amazing as well. It was just totally amazing. It was the kind of Leotard era, you know, it was the Spiders from Mars band with Mick Ronson, who's a fantastic guitarist. It was just amazing. So glad I said yes.
Yeah. You mentioned Led Zeppelin a little earlier there, and you picked the first song, another Led Zeppelin song from 1969, and Led Zeppelin 2. Would you like to tell us why that particular song?
It was really difficult choosing a Led Zeppelin song, but they were just such an iconic band for me at the time. You know, I bought their first album, and the first track of the first album is called Communication Breakdown. And it was just, you know, even though I was playing it on my dad's monogram, it wasn't a stereogram, in the front room with my piano in the railway cottages where we lived, it was just phenomenal. I just thought, I'd really like to listen to this in stereo, but mono will do. And then Ramble On just sums up the whole era for me, because, you know, it's a typical Led Zeppelin format of an acoustic beginning and leading into some real heavy riffing and meaningful lyrics. And me and my friends used to go out to country pubs and played rock music and sit around the fire, and I think we drank port at the time. I can't remember why we drank port, but and it was just summed up the whole era. Really, it was vibrant, it was happening, and it was so alive. And Ramble On just sums it up for me.
Well,
Hey?
there's
What? I am rambling on.
Are you, Ian? There's a couple of things I need to
Yeah.
ramble on about, and one of them is that we are, when I start Ramble On, this Zoom meeting will have finished by the time the song finishes.
Okay.
So this will have expired.
Okay.
We need to agree a time that we're going to reconvene for the second half. 8 minutes long, so let's give ourselves a comfort break maybe. I'd suggest that we're going to convene the second meeting at 10 to 9, and then we know it's finishing at 9:30.
Okay.
Yeah, is everyone happy with that? Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say was about Ramble On itself. I think it's an absolutely exquisite song in the studio version, a breathtaking piece of music, but I wasn't unable to find a live version by Led Zeppelin that really did it justice. And I do think I may have found a bit of a gem.
Leaves are falling all around. The time I was on my way. Thanks to you, I'm much obliged for such a pleasant stay. But now it's time for me to go. Oh, the autumn moon lights my way. And I smell the rain, and with it, babe, it's headed my way. Oh, you know, sometimes I get so tired. Oh, but there's just one thing I got to do. Ramble on. Sing my song. On my way. Ramble on. I gotta find the queen of all my dreams. I got no time for spreading rumors. Oh, the time has come to be gone. I know I have to be trying 1,000 times. Oh, it's time to ramble on. your my freedom I hold dear. Years ago, days of old, when magic filled the air. In the darkest steps of morning, I met a girl so fair. Oh God, the evil one crept up and slipped away with her. There's nothing I can do now. Ramble on, sing my song, on my way. Ramble on, ramble on.
All right, let me crack on. We're behind schedule, folks. Right.
Oh, bloody hell.
Right, Ian.
Yeah.
Ian, take your headphones off and unplug, and I'll mute you from here when it's necessary to do so. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's an improvement.
Yeah, and that'll be every time Kate laughs. All right. So, right, we're into the 70s. We're into the 70s, Ian, and I think for some reason you've decided to go to Germany. Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, when I left teacher training college, it was literally out of a cohort of 300 students. 2 people got jobs, one of which got a job in her dad's school where he was the headmaster. So the employment situation was dire in the late 70s, and I decided I needed to do something else. And I knew that you could just move to Europe and get a job and see what happens. So literally, that's what I did. I spent a few months in Amsterdam, and then after returning home for Christmas, I decided with my couple of mates to move to Berlin because it sounded good.
Mm-hmm.
And there were jobs, there were flats. There's, and it was Berlin. And so I did. And the reason I chose this song is it could have been one of many, because we did a lot of night clubbing there, and the electronica thing was really kicking off in Berlin at that time. And this one was just one of the iconic sounds of that period. And, it could have been Taint Love. Yeah, it could have been anything, but this is the one that I went to see Kraftwerk in the Brighton Centre.
We'll start again. So Ian, so we're in the mid-70s and you're in Berlin, and you've gone to a rather special gig at the Olympic Stadium in Munich. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or Berlin, or is it Munich?
No, it was in the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. And it was the one and only time. I had lots of opportunities to go and see Bob Marley, but this is the one that I actually made it to, and which was special in a way because it was the stadium where Hitler had walked out of when Jesse Owens won a couple of races and stuff, so it was even more special. And I bought a little badge of Africa, and it was made out of a coconut shell, and I've still got it somewhere up in the loft. And so it was just a very special occasion seeing Bob Marley, you know. How amazing is that? And to see Bob Marley in Berlin really was just amazing and unforgettable.
And why this song?
It's just one of my favourites. It sums it up for me. and it's one of those songs that when you play it just it's right. You know, I suppose throughout my life I've always had these kind of feelings of getting everyone together and why don't we all like each other and all the rest of it that goes on politically. And this song sort of overarches and bridges those feelings. And I've never met anyone who didn't like Bob Marley. My dad liked Bob Marley. It's like, so, you know, that's
why this is a live recording from 1978. There's some concern has been expressed that perhaps people haven't found the website or realised that you can switch to it and see any visuals. These aren't visuals from the concert itself. The recording was from the concert, but there are some images of Bob Marley playing.
Oh, one heart, one aim, one destiny. You understand what, man? Look, I ain't know all things, see? So, one love, one love, one love. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Hear the children crying. Hear the children cry. Oh, sing praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Now let them all pass all their dirty remarks. There is one question I'd really love to ask. Is there a place for the hopeless sinners who has hurt all mankind just to save his own belief? One love, hear my plea. One heart, give thanks and praise unto Jah, and I will feel alright. Singing in the morning, one love. What about the one heart? One heart, give thanks and praise unto Jah, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's come together to fight this holy Armageddon. So when Jah man come, there will be no doom. Have pity on those whose senses grows thin. There ain't no hiding place from the Father of creation. Sing it. One love. What about the one heart? Let's get together and feel alright. Sing it in the morning. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise unto the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Yes, Rastafari is the Almighty God. And everyone know that, you know, ain't nothing strange. Everything remains the same, huh? Yeah. But we the people got to come together, you know, putting at your trust in chariots and horses, but unto the Most High Jah, Rastafari. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright.
Okay. So where are we then? We've got in your list of songs here, you've left quite a gap now. We're going from 1978, and the next track is from 1991. So is there anything you'd like to fill in for us between those two dates?
No, it was a transitional period when after Berlin, I went to work and hang out in Copenhagen, and I worked there for a year, and to the Christiana community there, which was like an alternative community, work that openly sold marijuana, and it was just a wonderful place and a wonderful experience. And part of the reason that I came was because of the people that I met in Christiana, and that's as you know, that's what happened in the 80s, and then after and then I drove my friend who was ran the post office in Christiana, asked me if I'd drive her back to Brighton, because her mum was unwell, which I agreed to do, and out of that she found me, and you know, like they say, the rest is history. That's why I ended up in Brighton. and you know, I'd already acquired building skills and stuff like that, so I could find a job, and I found a job, and also went into the architectural antiques business, which was quite successful, and of course, that's from that flat was where we planned the milk float trip around the UK.
At some point here, you've glossed over the fact that you met someone quite special, didn't you? At some point.
Well, it was because of the milk float, and the community of Powys Square. You know, the Kate and I met. We probably met a couple of years before anything happened, and then I said, why don't we drive a milk float from Land's End to John O'Groats via everywhere? And it was via everywhere. It was over 2,500 miles, and Kate arranged that. She just brought that idea to life, and that's how we started off. And we floated around the UK on this milk float. I had a solar panel on the top. We went to Downing Street, and I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that was probably the first time a solar panel had been up Downing Street. And we even had the policeman who stand outside dancing to "Baby You Can Drive My Car" by the Beatles. And like I say, it was an amazing trip. It was an amazing trip, partly because it was an electric vehicle, and partly because of the connection to all the people around these islands, you know. And we had a few town centre raves, and we played KLF quite a lot. And the sound system was made by a guy called Nev, and he adjusted it to work off a battery charged by a solar panel, and it was loud. And that made me realise that the power of solar panels, amongst many other things.
What's the next song, Neil?
The next song is "Children," I believe.
Yep.
This was when we all got in the family way and started having raves in bathrooms and laundry cupboards. We had it in our bathroom primarily because the neighbours haven't got that part of the basement, and so we could have really loud music there and no one could hear it. And this particular song, the Tunnel Mix, the lyric in this particular song is a very special idea, really, because it talks about all the children in the world holding hands would resist all violence and hatred, and that really connected with me. I just thought, you know, because obviously I work quite a large portion of my working on young children, and it just made sense to me. And I did actually think at the time, I wonder if I could get that together. Obviously fantastical, but you know, the idea is just fantastic. If all the children in the world held hands, it would be a very powerful thing.
So Ian, now we're in the 90s, and
Yeah.
and a new arrival has joined your family at some point.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that felt for you.
Well, I mean, I think to be honest, I think my parents had given up on that one, because I was 37, coming up to 38, which at the time it's all relevant to the time, because that felt like being I only knew one dad who was older than me at Elgrove School, and it just felt magical, really. It was just absolutely magical to become a dad, and of course it really changed my life, of course. And I've been a big defender of small families, because there's only the three of us, but it's still a family. And but I used to joke, because I work with young children, I used to joke that when people said, "How many children have you got here?" and I used to say 52, because that was the number in the class. But you know, it was a very special moment, and you know, it completely changed my life, and gave it different purpose and meaning, and I'm really thankful for that. Of course.
What's your last song?
But my wife's more important in that sense than I am. You know, so, and children have been a massive part of my working life. And I have to be honest, I don't think I could do it now. I think I could probably look after a couple of children, but I certainly couldn't do what I used to do, because of the enormous amount of energy you need. But yeah, from that point onwards, it was family time, really, and everything else has led from it, you know. And it you know, I think my parents were really pleased, because you know, it's not unusual now to be 37, 38, but at that time it was quite unusual. So I was quite delighted. And
Will you introduce your last song, please?
that, yeah, the last song is "Build a Fire" by KLF, and we played a lot of the KLF on the Milk Float trip. It just was the iconic music at the time, and of course at KLF, everybody knows they burnt £1 million, but the music they produced was really ahead of its time. And again, I could have chosen any of the tracks on the White Room album, but Build a Fire is really about everyone else, because the most satisfying thing that I do in my life is sit around a fire with my friends chewing the cud, and it's just such a primeval, beautiful thing, you know, sat round, heat, and having a laugh and a joke and some music, and it just sums it up for me. I think, you know, because sitting around the fire on holiday, camping, or wherever it is, just such a fantastic thing to do, and it always does the trick.
You gotta let him play.
I'll shut up now.
this tune to all the girls I'd known. Should I care about the chances I'd blow?
Thank you. So we're into the last just couple of minutes, really. So there is actually a bonus track that I'd like to play for you. It's a little surprise, Ian. But before we get there, you do have to choose a book to take with you to your desert island and a luxury item. So
I'm just going to get the book. This is the book by Raynor Wynne called The Wild Silence, and she was the author of the Salt Path, which is a tale of well, it was very appropriate for me because it was a guy struggling with his mobility, and they went and did a huge long walk, and connecting with nature really put him on track, and I really connect with that idea. But this is the sequel, the one's equally just as inspiring, really. She's an incredible descriptive writer of nature and beauty and reconnecting with nature,
okay.
which hopefully.
And the luxury item?
The luxury item is actually a bag of marijuana seeds, so that you, wherever you went, you knew you'd be okay, because it certainly wouldn't do any harm, and it would how to supply on a desert island.
And
I can't think of anything.
And if you could only keep one of those songs of the 8 that you've chosen, which one would it be?
I think Build a Fire, because it just means everything. I think, you know, sitting around with friends around a fire just encompasses all the stuff that I like the most, really.
Okay, well, we're about to end, Ian, so I've got to say thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Ian, for taking us through that little journey. And I've just got one bonus track for you. My friend, do you happen to remember what you were doing on the 16th of April, 2004?
I do, yes.
Welcome to Kate and Ian's wedding reception. Is Kate there? Can I see Kate there, please? Kate, come to the front, please, darling. Thank you. Ian, what are you doing here? I'm sorry, this is tradition. It's tradition that the groom leads off the first dance with the bride at the reception. Please, if you'd like to step out.
Hold my beer and my bag.
No, you get out there. You get out there. Ian and Kate out there. Ian is leading off. Ian and Kate are leading off the first dance of the evening. We hope you enjoy us. We hope you dance along. We hope you sing along. We hope you clap along where you can. I'm so much off my feet, looking for golden street. So much I need to say. Sorry that it's on the wedding day, but she's alright for me. I heard that he disagrees. He's always hating me because I never got a J.O.B. But she's mine, and I'm glad I graduated. It's better than the grave. I could have been dead, ran away again, thinking that I ever did. True love lasts forever, and now we're back together. It's easy never better, so looking back, glad I crashed the wedding. Time, and I'm glad I graduated. It's better than the grave. Ran away again. I said I would never give. True love lasts forever, and now we're back together. As if we never met. So looking back, glad I crashed the wedding. Don't waste our breathing. Better be taking her away. It's better than regret. The picture of a flame, she couldn't keep a pen, she did. Now we're back together. And I crashed the wedding.
Very good.
All right, well, there, people.
Hi, folks.
Oh, Scott's on.
Hello, Pete.
Hey, mate, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Ian, you need to unmute. And everybody else needs to mute, please, if you would.
If I suddenly disappear, I do apologise. I'm just waiting for my escort onto airside.
All right, Scott. Cheers.
Clearly working then, Scott.
Yeah, I'm at work tonight. I'm in my office at the minute, as you can see.
Yeah, nice one.
Oh.
Okay, if I could, can I talk some a bit of housekeeping before we get going? Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us on this musical trip down memory lane with our dear friend Mr. Ian Needham. As this is a new experiment for the group, I better start with this sort of housekeeping of how I think this is best going to be managed. So we're closely following the format of Radio 4's Desert Island Discs, and we're going to hear Ian talking about his life and playing 8 pieces of music for us that have been particularly meaningful for him. As I was planning the schedule last night, it pretty soon became apparent there's just no way we were going to fit this into 40 minutes. So I've scheduled 2 meetings, and I'm hoping we're going to get through the first 4 songs before we hit 40 minutes, and then we'll reconvene at a mutually agreeable time, probably after a 5-minute comfort break, and then finish off on the second half. So what else to say? If you could open up your chat windows, please. I'm going to paste a link in there now. Okay, so one moment. Now, no, ignore that link. Ignore that link. And wait for it.
Is that your bank account, that first link, Jim?
Yeah, that's my bank account. One below it. Click on the one below it, please. That is going to take you to Watch Together, which is a shared room that we have where all the videos will be played and they're synced for us. So we're all hearing exactly the same thing at the same time. I'm in control of that player, and that room will be around for another 20 odd hours. So that playlist is, I'll leave it running continuously. So if you haven't had enough by the end of this, then you can go back there and listen to it all night if you want to. So anyway, so have people found the website and let themselves into the room? Yeah, how are we doing?
No.
In the website, Lena? In the website?
It's opening in a different browser.
This is the music bit.
I know, but it's a different browser.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Ian, you shouldn't be doing it at all because we opened the browser, didn't we, in the meeting beforehand? Yeah.
Okay.
That should have been. Hopefully, that's still open. Is it open now?
Yeah.
Okay. How are the rest of people doing? Do I think they've got Watch Together open? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go for this then. All right.
Can you give permission? Can you give permission to record, Jim?
I am recording.
We're trying to. You're recording, okay?
Yeah. Did you want your own recording? Is that something that I can do? I don't know.
Mine says if I press record, it says I need your permission to do it.
Okay, it's not asked. It's not asked me to grant you permission. But I'm recording it anyway, Kate. Okay, so I'll make sure you get a copy of that. Okay.